Books on Tape presents The Good Guys, a novel by Bill Bonanno and Joe Pistone, with David Fisher. Read by Stephen Hoye. The Good Guys is a collaboration between Bill Bonanno and Joe Pistone. The story is told from both points of view. These two narrators tell their story, which includes some personal insights, in alternating chapters. The story begins from inside the Mafia. Chapter 2 begins the story as seen from within the FBI. Chapter 1.
"Fuck that no-good motherfucking fucker, Tony," little Eddie said, his face turning almost the color of the cherry Danish on his plate. "I ain't kidding this time. I swear to God, I see that fucking guy come round here again, I'm gonna fucking rip out his heart and stuff it down his throat till he's shitting it out. I'm fucking pissed off."
"Listen to me, kid," Tony Cupcake said calmly. "You can't hold back like that. You got something to say, you gotta say it right out loud. Holding your feelings inside like that, it ain't good for you." Everybody laughed, even little Eddie. This conversation was taking place on a crisp September afternoon in 1985, inside the Fremont Avenue Social Club, which naturally was on Elizabeth Street in New York's Little Italy. The truth is that I grew up in social clubs just like this one. For made members and associates of our organization, the social club is the center of the universe. Years ago, the social clubs were very important places in the neighborhoods, almost sacred. This was the place people would come for help. If they needed $3 so their child could visit a doctor, they could get it at the social club. If they needed a job or were having problems with the landlord, they would go to the social club to ask for assistance, and they would be welcomed there. But as the neighborhoods changed, so did the function of the social club. It became the place where people in my business would hang out while waiting for the next deal. It became the office, a home away from home, a place for real men to be together. Everything in life that mattered started there. If the great poet Robert Frost had known the people in my life, he might have written that the social club is that place that when you go there, if you're a friend of ours, they have to take you in. Then they would probably offer you some cannoli. My father, Joe Bonnanno, the man who served as the model for The Godfather, operated out of two clubs, the Rex Spinola Democratic Club in Brooklyn and the Shore View Social Club in Manhattan. The Rex Spinola Club was for our neighborhood. It had a large meeting hall in the front and several private rooms in the back. 1 or 2 days every week, the local people would line up to meet with my father in a back room. They believed that he was a great man who was concerned about their problems and had the power to help them. And mostly they were right. The Shore View Social Club was on East 12th Street between First Avenue and Avenue A. It was a long way from the nearest shore, and the only view through the front windows was of the tenements across the street. My father brought me there for the first time when I was 6 years old. But I remember it very well. I remember the feeling of being someplace very special. From the first day I was there, everything about it felt comfortable. Being my father's son meant that people were always bringing me small gifts as a way of showing their respect for him. So for me, the social club meant candy, ice cream, and small toys. It was heaven. It was there that I began to understand the importance of relationships among good people, that I began to realize how few things really matter in life. I don't know how many hours I've spent inside social clubs since then, but that feeling never went away. And I've learned that after a while, all social clubs seem to be pretty much the same. The same things matter. Wherever the club is located, whatever crew hangs out there, the cappuccino tastes the same, the shafts of cold sunlight slant through the windows in the late afternoon the same way, the same Sinatra and Victor Moan music is playing on the radio, and the scent of loyalty, friendship, and money is always in the air. As the function of the social club evolved, the most important requirement became that it not attract unwanted attention, which meant just about any attention. In fact, after John Gotti went to prison, due at least in part to his insatiable love of publicity,
The family closed down all its social clubs and operated mostly out of restaurants and back rooms. Not that it made any difference in terms of business. The Fremont Avenue Social Club, which was located in the former King Television and Radio Repair Shop, satisfied the primary requirement. From the outside, it looked about as inviting as a federal prison. People who lived on the block and the people who had business there knew exactly what it was. Everybody else in the world didn't matter. Directly in front of the shore view was a fire hydrant that didn't appear on any city maps and was not connected to any water supply. Like the plugs in front of several Park Avenue buildings, it just appeared magically in place one night. Its only actual function was to guarantee that there would always be a parking spot available for Henry Franzone, the captain, or capo, of the Fremont Avenue crew. Two large bay windows on either side of the recessed front door were covered from the inside with sheets of faded white plasterboard from the bottom to about 3 feet from the top. The brown steel door had a fan window near the top that had been cloaked with colored plastic that was supposed to look like stained glass, but served to make it impossible to see inside. Directly above the steel door, a wheezing air conditioner was framed by unpainted plywood. This air conditioner leaked, so on hot days people who belonged to the club knew to squeeze left when they came inside. Next to the door was a buzzer rather than a bell, and in the name slot above the black button someone with a sense of humor had slipped in a piece of paper on which was written, in faded black ink, J.E. Hoover. The Fremont Avenue Social Club was never closed. What was going on inside was the life, the good and the bad of it. It didn't matter what time it was, almost always you could find several men eating and talking and drinking cappuccino and playing cards or dominoes and laughing and complaining and planning. Always planning. The next job, the next scam, the next split. In the end, whatever was going on, it was always about money. Someone told me once that the quality of a social club could be measured by the availability of food and the quality of the complaints. By that standard, the Shore View was a good place to belong. Food first, though. On this fall afternoon, little Eddie LaRocca was griping about a street hustler they knew as Benny Rags. This was a guy who was always coming around with something to sell, stuff that fell off the back of a truck, from cheap watches to ladies' shoes. Little Eddie was little in nickname only. He was a big, fat, tough guy. He was Little Eddie only because he was Big Eddie's younger brother. Physically, he was much bigger than Big Eddie. But Big Eddie had started bringing him around when he was a kid, and he made some friends and proved he could earn and eventually was invited to become an associate of Franzone's crew. Nobody even knew Little Eddie's exact weight, but it had to be 270, 280, and the guy wasn't quite 6 feet tall. But even carrying all that weight, he moved quick when he had to, even gracefully. Little Eddie was a matter-of-fact guy. What is, is. What isn't, wasn't his business. Once there had been a lot of people like him around. People who believed without reservation in the family. Men who found great comfort in structure and predictability. Good soldiers. It used to be a joke that in some crews you were allowed to do anything you wanted to do. First the capo told you what you wanted to do, then you did it. In fact, some clubs were run pretty tough. For example, you weren't allowed to change the station on the radio unless you had permission. But Fremont Avenue wasn't one of those places. The club belonged to Henry Franzone, who ran things pretty loose. As long as his people kept earning and as long as he got his piece of every deal, his crew had a lot of independence. But when the bosses needed something done, it got done first. Everything else was tied for second. The thing that was pissing off Little Eddie were the band lawn shirts he'd gotten from Benny Rags. You wear the fucking things one time, the threads start coming out. Makes me look like shit. From across the room, Georgie one time asked, without looking up from the cards in his hand, "How much you pay him for those shirts?" Everybody knew that Little Eddie never paid Benny Rags for anything. "That ain't the point," Little Eddie said. "You don't embarrass me by letting me wear this shit. What if somebody sees me?" Fast Lenny said casually, "Hey, don't worry about it, Eddie. I see you. And you look okay to me. Honest."
Well, except maybe for that thing what's hanging over your belt there. What do you call it?
Sample complete. Ready to continue?